Continuing with Chapter 14, we're still using the Seattle skyline sequence. We're going to be looking at masking clips and track matte key effect in this section. So in the past, we've used mask to constrain an effect to a region of the image. Of course, you can also use it in the opacity setting to combine a mask in the same way, allowing you to set regions in an image that should be transparent with great precision. So as you can see, we have these two black lines on our foreground footage, the gentleman there, and we want to get rid of those. So we want to see what that is. So we'll come over here to our effects control panel, make sure the timekeeping MOV is selected, and you can turn off your Ultra keyer. So you see we have black bars. If we turn off this whole timeline or video 2 track, you can see it's just prevalent on our one image. The reason for this is sometimes when studios shoot on green screen, it may not be the same size as our background footage due to space constraints, or maybe this is all the bigger their green screen was. One of the easiest ways to clean this up is with a matte, like they were talking, and it's called masking. So while we still have our effect for the Ultra keyer turned off, we are going to go into our opacity settings. So if this is not open, go ahead and open it. And you're going to choose this 4-point polygon mask. So just go ahead and click it, and it applies it to our video 2 track that we had selected this clip. Once you've done that, you want to change your settings here so you can see a little bit more. And depending on if you have a laptop or desktop, you just want to be able to see all the edges of your actual picture. And then you're going to drag these out. So it basically allows us to see just the green screen area where his movement takes place. So we just want to get rid of those black bar edges. And this can come out past the actual footage. On the bottom, that's okay if you want. And that looks pretty good. See how the black was coming in there? So you may want to bring it back just a little bit. And this side, I think we can go out a little bit further. So once you're happy with that, you can then set the program monitor back to fit, because of course we want to see stuff in a bigger setting. You can also see that we have a soft edge on this, which I could go in here and change if I wanted. I don't think the book actually told us we had to, but just to be sure that I'm not getting any of that black line, I'm going to dial that back as well. And then you can turn your Ultra keyer back on. And in one of the past videos, I talked about how certain items are stacked in here. That does play a factor when you're using effects. So we'll turn it back on, and now we have these results. You're still seeing the blue line here because the mask is highlighted here, but if I click off of it, you can now see we have a nice clean key with, and in a lot of terms and terminology with compositing, this would be considered a garbage mask. We just basically, this area had black lines, which is kind of garbage as far as what we're trying to accomplish. So it's just a nice way to clean it out pretty fast. So that's the way to use a mask in relation to a keyer. So it will give you better results. All right, next thing we want to do is a track matte key effect. If you've worked in Photoshop at all, I think the best way to wrap your head around this is it's very similar to a clipping mask. So track matte key effect is what we need. One of the things it tells us to do is expand out our skyline so we can add in a second clip right here. Next, we are going to look for our clip, and it's going to be in the shot bin right here, and it wants us to choose Laura 06. So we're going to drag this one into right here. You can, of course, trim this back if you want. Let's take a look at this. So it looks like it's mostly a close-up of her dress, and it's all right that we're using this because it's going to interact with this key that we're going to be adding. The other thing it wants us to then add from our project panel is the Seattle clip graphic. So I bet it's in the graphics folder. Here we find Seattle. We're going to bring this on top. We want it to expand it so it matches the length of the Laura 06 clip. And you can see this is just basic text in white letters. However, when we apply this effect. So switch over to effects work mode, and we're going to type in track. Okay, there it is, track matte key. Drag this down, and we want to put it onto, let me turn the page. Okay, so we're actually applying it to the Laura 06 clip. So this clip here, this is important. Whichever one you put it on does make a difference. So this track matte key is going to allow us to use the luminance information of our alpha channel from any clip on a selected track to define transparency matte for a clip on another track. So this is unique. This is different than normal. Usually effects affect just the one clip that they're placed onto. So you'd think it would be on this Laura 06. That's all we're going to get. However, we're going to bring in the Seattle text as well to be used with this one. So this is kind of a neat effect in that regards. It acts a little bit different. I'm switching back to editing mode just because I like to have a little bit more space here. And then we're going to come up into our panel. We're going to look at our track matte key. We want to change our matte here from none to video 3. And watch the Seattle text while we do this. And there it is. So it changed it. It took the properties of this here image here, and it's using basically the keying effect of where the text existed on the video 3 track. I know that's a little bit harder to wrap your mind around, but just think about the text is the cutout to the Laura 06 clip. That's the only thing that we can see that's visible. And then the book also talks about, you know, we can scrub through this and see how the text changes as the image moves around behind it. And it's actually pretty contrasty with this background, so it works well. However, you could get really into this further. You could adjust the color, so you could make the reds brighter using your color correction methods. So it would pop even more off the Seattle skyline background. And you could even animate this here. So you could have it zoom out towards us on the screen, and then it would, or scale it up. It would use more of that Laura 06 image. And you can use other things like blur effects. So it was maybe a softer pattern that we're seeing behind or through the cutout of the text. So you can stack different effects with keyframing, with other color correction, with other effects to give you really cool results. So as we get further into video editing, there's some really neat stuff you can accomplish with this. And that will get us to the end of chapter 14. I hope you guys found this information useful. Until next time.